up here. I've seen him try all kinds of stuff. You can see he's already getting involved. He's got some notes prepared. I've even seen him give a speech up on the table, so you're up for a treat tonight. So it's a peculiar title. Jimmy has stepped in last minute, so kudos for that. I haven't got much detail. There's no manual at the moment, but I'm sure it's going to be a very good speech, and it's going to be of proportion. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause to Jimmy Petruzzi.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, indeed, I stepped in last minute, and I decided I was going to talk about gaslighting. Has anyone heard about the term gaslighting before? Amongst a very intelligent group, I'm going to give you my perspective based on my reading in the literature and on research. So it might be reinforced learning for you, or it might be a new take on it. Now, gaslighting we see is common amongst the narcissist. We'll talk about that briefly. But we also see politicians, the media, and psychopaths do a lot of gaslighting too. Now, what does it derive from? Well, in the 30s, there was a play called Gaslighting, and they turned it into a film in the 40s. And it was about this guy who, his goal appeared to make his wife mad. Now, that's probably not a difficult thing to do, but the point being what he would do, because they didn't have electricity then, they had gaslighting. He sort of dim the lights and turn them up and dim the lights, and she didn't really know what was going on. He'd say, well, I didn't do it, type thing. And slowly but surely, it was interfering for reality, so to speak. Now, it's a Machiavellian way of manipulating someone's reality, making someone doubt their own reality. It's a very, really, really powerful Machiavellian way of emotional manipulation. Now, you might be asking, what are the goals of gaslighting? Well, I'm not the right person to ask. The point being is that it's about one doubting oneself. So the idea from the gaslighter is for the victim to doubt themselves. Well, why, you might ask, would the gaslighter want the victim to doubt themselves? Well, my interpretation would be the more you question someone's reality, the more control you can take over them. So the narcissist, and you're familiar with narcissism, well, they got the traits, the perfect cocktail. And the cocktail being they have little empathy for people, they also like to control, and they're also manipulative. So that's the perfect ingredient for gaslighting as a tool. And it tends to be a tool for them. Now, you don't have to be in a personal relationship with someone to do that. We see it in family dynamic. We see it in society. We see it in groups. It can be very tribal. And on a serious note, it can really break someone's confidence down. It really can hurt someone's self-esteem. Over a period of time, being in that toxic environment can be a really, really bad thing. Now, another interpretation that I see, what the gaslighter does, they do a few half-truths. So something that's sort of mildly true, then distort that reality within a high level of proportion, beyond proportion with the person's comprehension. And by doing that, the person actually thinks, well, there is some truth in that. I did come home late, I did do that, but did I do this? And they get confused. So you'll know sometimes, and you've probably been on the wrong end of gaslighting rage. When you question the gaslighter, what do? They get very defensive and go off into a rage. And some examples you're probably wondering of gaslighting, by the way, are humiliation. So one becomes humiliated and they feel a sense of sensitivity in the humiliation, and they say to the gaslighter, well, they quit. Why would you do such a thing? And the gaslighter might respond, well, I was only joking. It was only a joke. Don't be so serious. Don't be so silly, and so on and so forth. Or a reaction might be to express a concern about a world event, about a behaviour that the gaslighter does. Well, why'd you come home 3 nights in a row really, really late? Well, the response might be, I'm really worried about you. I'm worried about the way you're reacting, type thing. So it's interfering with one's reality. Or another state might be, well, just get over it. Or a more blatant example might be at work. So someone comes in and says, why did you leave the tap on when you didn't? Or why did you do that when you know you didn't do it? But if someone does that long enough, what do you think happens? Well, it starts interfering in a very Machiavellian way with your reality. So, you know, another example could be you make arrangements with someone to go to the cinema. I know you guys do that, by the way, the cinema club. And you know you've made arrangements. It could be a restaurant too, by the way. It could be a sporting club. But then you turn up in the evening and where is the other person? And you call them. Hello, where are you? The guest lights up. What are you on about? I didn't make any arrangements. But you know perfectly well. So the next time around you think, well, what I'll do next time, I'll actually record it on those little recording phones. And you might even play it back. And when you do that, they get even more agitated. Surely we've all been on the wrong end of people. But the point being is that going forward, in essence, it's a process. It's a process which works on denial, on contradiction, on misconception, on lying, with one of the goals at least being to create destabilization and disorientation, and to create those seeds of doubt in the victim's mind. Now you might be wondering now, what does one do when one is faced with one situation? Well, for that, you have to come to my next talk, next Toastmasters. But the point being, on a serious note, is context dependent, depending on the dynamic of the relationship. It depends on you and the person. It could be a parent, it could be a partner, it could be a boss, it could be a group of people that you're faced with. So that must be taken into consideration. But as a general consensus, I would say run. Run as fast as you can. But sometimes, on a serious note, no response is the best response in certain situations and certain circumstances. Because really, and in reality, if you're faced with a situation where someone, their goal is to, in a Machiavellian way, to create such a seed of doubt in your mind, to distort that reality, that really borders, in my opinion, on emotional abuse. And that, for me, can be very challenging for people. And ultimately, the person doing it may need help, or likely to need help themselves, if they can sort of see what they're doing and the effects it's having on their relationships. But on a positive note, people can be helped and people do improve irrespective of what the situation is. And equally, if one finds themselves in a situation that's being done to them, to reiterate, it's context dependent. There's not one size reductionist method that's going to work for everybody. Assess the situation, take a step back, and just take a deep breath and remind yourself that you're okay.